Everybody, meet the newest addition to our family. This is Clarence. Are you done? Okay. You did a good job. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. I feel like it's been a while. I got a can of LaCroix here. It's the beach plum flavor, and usually I either drink water or like have a glass of wine or tea or something. I don't usually get carbonated drinks, and I just saw these at the grocery store and I was like, why not? This feels very springy. And Tyler looks in the fridge and he's like, we're LaCroix people now. Just gave me the biggest eye roll. Apparently this is like a group of people, are LaCroix people. I don't know. So far I've just tried the beach plum flavor, which are quite lovely. They taste like Capri Suns kind of. So recently Tyler and I grew our little family a little bit and we adopted another cat. So this was not really part of the plan, especially not part of Tyler's plan. I have been pushing for it for a little while, but I knew that he just wanted a bit more time, and Gilbert is quite an independent little guy and likes his own space, and so I think he had a lot of anxiety about how Gilbert would do with another animal. So I kind of realized like this probably wasn't going to happen, but one day I was doing a Target run, and my Target is close to a PetSmart, and I just decided to go into the PetSmart, which I literally have never done any other day. And I walked to the cats just to, see what cats they might have there. And most of the cats were, just doing their own thing. Often when you go to the pet store or when you go to the shelter, I feel like they aren't always super interactive because they're stressed out. They're in a tiny little cage and they're probably very anxious. Sometimes they're sleeping, eating, whatever. But there was this little cat who just was nuzzling the plexiglass and just rubbing up and looking at me. And I was like, who are you? I need you. And I asked the store owner if I could spend a little bit of time with him. Unfortunately, they didn't let the cat come down, but I was able to like pet him through his little cage. And he started nuzzling me and giving me kisses. And I was like, I think this is meant to be. Like, I think I'm supposed to be a mom to this cat. And so I submitted an application for him. I didn't really know if I was going to get him. And the next day I got called from his shelter saying that I could pick him up if I wanted to. He is a shelter cat, even though he was in the pet store. There's a shelter that like partners with a PetSmart so that you can like meet the shelter cats as you are walking through the store. So he is 10 and a half months. I don't know much about his history other than the fact that he lived with a foster family for a lot of his life, but they unfortunately weren't able to keep him. And then he kind of ended up in the pet store and has just been waiting for his forever home. And Gilbert and him are already the best of friends. They love to lick each other and they love to play together. The first couple of weeks were a little bit rocky, but we're in a really good spot now. They just love spending time with each other, and I think Gilbert honestly was quite lonely. So we are so happy with the addition of Clarence to our family. So if you are able to give a cat or any other animal a forever home, it is one of the kindest things that you can do. There are over 3.5 million cats that enter shelters every year, and only 2.1 million are adopted, which means that there are a lot of cats that go without homes. And unfortunately, some of those cats end up in kill shelters and don't make it. So if you have the ability, the financial ability, the time to adopt an animal, it is one of the most wonderful things you can do. And believe me, it will make your life so much better. I just look forward to seeing them every morning. I look forward to coming home and knowing they're going to be at the door. I look forward to snuggles while I'm reading. They're just the most wonderful companions, and I will link down below some websites where you can find shelters close to you, maybe find your forever companion. But while all these exciting life things were happening, my reading month was god awful. It was so bad. I almost didn't make this video, but I really wanted to stick with doing monthly wrap-ups, and I also wanted to talk to you guys about Clarence and his adoption, so I just decided to sit down with my LaCroix and just do it, but I did not enjoy this reading month. I didn't really read anything that I particularly loved, but we're gonna go through it. So I ended up finishing one book, DNFing one book, and I'm in the middle of 2 books. So I'm just gonna kind of give you some updates, chat with you about how things have been going, and go from there. All right, so first off, the book that I finished this month was Legends and Lattes. This was our Tea Leaves book club pick of January and February, I think. And this is a story that's set in a fantasy world, and it follows our main character, Viv, who is an orc. And she has, for her whole life, been all about the adventure, the battles, the sword wielding, the blood. And she decides that she's done with all of that, and she wants to embark on a new kind of adventure. So she decides to open a coffee shop. And this book is all about the vibes, all about the coziness, and all about the bigger picture of following your passion and not doing things that are expected of you or doing things that you feel like you have to do or that other people are doing, but following what you truly want to do and what you're passionate about. I love the message of the book. I love the vibes of the book. It wasn't particularly fast-paced. There wasn't a lot that happened, but if you're going into it to just have like a cozy book to enjoy, I think you'll really, really like it. I know all of the girls in the book club really enjoyed reading this one and got a lot out of it, and I think a few of us gave it 5 stars. I will, of course, link that live show if you guys are interested in hearing all of our thoughts. Clarence, I will, of course, link our live show if you guys are interested in hearing more of our thoughts about the book. But overall, that was my favorite reading moment of the month. So the next book that I picked up this month was I Have Some Questions for You by Makkai. I came into this book with extremely high expectations because I had read The Great Believers maybe 2 or 3 years ago and absolutely loved it. It was one of my favorite books of the year that year, and I think it was a finalist for the Pulitzer Prize the year it came out. It was just an incredible book. And so this was her next published novel after that one, and I was so excited for this, not only because it was by Rebecca Makkai, but also because it was a mystery that takes place in a boarding school. And I just thought to myself, this is everything that I want in a story. But unfortunately, I found this book extremely boring and slow paced. We're following our main character Bodhi, who has kind of left her children and her family to go teach at the boarding school for a semester, and that's when she's looking into this old mystery that happened there when she was actually a student. But I don't really feel like she's particularly developed as a character, and she just kind of throws her family aside and they're not really brought up. It's a little bit odd how it's dealt with. And then when she gets here, we're introduced to so many different people that just are there to be placeholders and be suspects in this mystery, and I'm not particularly invested in any of them. I just feel like this book is trying to do way too much, and I just was really, really not enjoying it as a mystery novel. I know it is a literary thriller. Maybe I'm reading it with the wrong mindset, and I need to be going into it more like looking at the writing style and the changes in point of view and perspective, because there certainly are some in here that are really interesting. But I just gave up. After 100 pages, I had it with this. I was so bored and I just didn't want to do it anymore. And so I DNF'd this book, which is the first DNF I've had in a while, and I was really upset that this was the one that I didn't finish, but this just was not for me. I don't know. Have you guys read this one? What do you guys think of it? All right. Finally, I'm going to chat about 2 books that I'm currently in the middle of. The first one is the 3rd book in the Garmus series. I have uploaded a vlog of me reading the 2nd book in this series when I was in Mexico. I will link that if you guys are interested. This is kind of a detective story that takes place in Quebec in a little town called 3 Pines, and each of the books follows a different mystery. And this one takes place in the springtime. As you can kind of see, there's like an Easter egg here and a flower. And basically what happens is they are having a seance, and one of the people dies at the seance. Originally they think of fear, but then they start to realize that there might be more foul play there. So one of my favorite things about this book too is we're starting to kind of delve more into some of the plot lines that developed throughout the series that deal with the recurring characters, the enemies, the rivals. I just find the politics of it really interesting. I love the setting of it being in the spooky, like springtime vibes, and overall it's really good. I'm about halfway through, still have a bit to go, but it's the perfect book to read at this time of the year as we are just starting to head into the spring season. You guys can hear something in the background. It is Clarence in his spring. He loves his spring toy. It's his favorite. All right, and very finally, I am currently reading Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus. This was a really, really hyped book that came out last year. It is a romance, and it was like the Barnes & Noble Book of the Year, and on a lot of people's like favorite books of the year lists. It is about a chemist named Elizabeth Zott who, and it takes place in the 60s, and she works in a very male-dominated field in a very male-dominated lab, and it's about her romance with one of her coworkers, but without giving too much away, I think there's going to be more parts to the story than just that romance. I'm only on page 73, but so far the writing style of this is just so funny and charming and just a joy to read. Elizabeth is a little bit annoying, but I just kind of put that aside and enjoy the story in itself and their chemistry and the idea that not every romance has to be surrounding children and has to be the traditional romance story. It's just two people finding each other's minds. Really beautiful. And I think that that's such a cool premise for a book. So overall, really enjoying this one, although still have quite a ways to go. All right, guys, so that's gonna be it for my kind of all over the place March wrap up and my introduction of my beautiful new boy Clarence. Let me know what you guys read in the month of March. I hope you guys all had a good reading month. And with that, I will see you very soon with another video. Bye.